SHMACKEMAGOB, everybody. It's time another one of these classic album things, and maybe this one's not like a classic album to most people, but you all know the movie. Well, no, I'm sure a lot of you don't know the movie, but you should know it. I'm wearing the shirt now. It's called Over the Edge, and I think the soundtrack is phenomenal. Now, I'll give you a little history on the soundtrack, because it's a funny story. My good buddy Eladio Fernandez, who I'm still friends with, and I hope you're watching this, Yai. I love you, brother. Me and him were fucking close. I mean, inseparable. You know, best friends as little kids. And we went to this Kmart in Hialeah, Florida, back in 1979. Kids, get off my lawn. And saw this soundtrack there, the soundtrack to Over the Edge. And looked at the track listing, and I didn't know this movie. And as far as I know, I don't think this movie was played in theaters down here in Florida, because I remember looking for it in the paper. It was me and I would always go to the theater. Never saw the movie, but I bought this soundtrack, and I'll tell you why. I mean, at the time, this is 79. I'm not sure if At Budokan was out yet, but me and Yai were huge Cheap Trick fans. I won't bore you with the story, but on Columbia House I accidentally got In Color, and me and him heard it for the first time, fell in love with the band, and you know, and then I got I think I got Heaven Tonight. I already had the 3 albums by the time I bought this. The first album, In Color, Heaven Tonight. I don't believe Budokan was out yet. I could be wrong. So I look at the album, and man, it starts with Surrender, the classic Cheap Trick song. Then My Best Friend's Girl, The Cars, classic. You Really Got Me, Van Halen. I already had that too. I had the first Van Halen. Speak Now, Forever Hold Your Peace from the first Cheap Trick album. And the last song on here is Jimi Hendrix, Come On, Part 1, which I didn't own Electric Ladyland at the time. And man, I ended up, oh my God, this song rocks, man. I loved it. On side 2 is Just What I Needed, which I know. You know, I'm not sure if I owned the Cars album then, but it was all over the radio, as well as My Best Friend's Girl. Hello There, Cheap Trick. Teenage Lobotomy, the Ramones, turned me into Ramones freak. First time I ever heard the Ramones was that song. And just fell in love with the Ramones too because of this album. Downed, one of the greatest Cheap Trick songs on here from In Color. All That You Dream by Little Feat, which is, I mean, it didn't really make me run out and buy the little, that, you know, even look into them, but I dug it. It's kind of like the filler on here. And it ends with Ooh Child by Valerie Carter. Ooh child, things are gonna get easier. Love it, man. I love it. So, and I would say maybe 2-3 years later, I saw they were showing this movie on HBO at like 1 in the morning. And I stayed up for it. Oh my God, I've been dying to see this movie Over the Edge. I've owned this soundtrack, wore this soundtrack out, and I love that movie, man. I have it on DVD. It's a classic. Now, there are characters on this album cover that are not in the movie. Like, alright, there's Matt Dillon. That's the first movie Matt Dillon was in. And this chick here, I believe she has a bit part where I think Matt was like that same pose at a party. This guy down here was a mute kid with the glasses, kind of looks like the keyboard player of the Cars. And that is it. Like, the main character in the movie is not on the album cover. This guy smoking a joint, these 2 couple, and these 2 people are not in the movie. Weird, right? But yeah, you know, I mean, the main character was a kid called Carl. He wasn't in the movie. I mean, he's not on the album cover. But I figured, you know, and I even mentioned his name here, it's an Orion picture. And I highly recommend this movie if you have not seen it. It's a cool, you know, I mean, it's from my childhood. I mean, they're bad kids. And it's a movie, the plot is, you know, like some new town they made, and the parents are too busy like developing the town and so on. The cop Doberman is a dickhead, and the kids are in a rec center, and then the Richie, the main character. I'm not going to give it away in case you haven't seen it, but all I can say is the kids are ignored and they do some bad shit, smoke pot with guns and stuff like that, and then at the end all hell breaks loose. So I highly recommend this movie. And hey, if you find the soundtrack, which down here in South Florida, I can't find it. I have searched every time I go to a record store. I go to the soundtrack section for 2 albums. This one and the soundtrack to Phantom of the Paradise, which I have found. I own several copies of Phantom of the Paradise. And I only own one of these. I want to find another copy because this is worn out. I never play this anymore, but it's sentimental. I'll never get rid of it. So it's just a very special album because it turned me on to Jimi Hendrix, which I'm a huge fan of now. I'm a huge fan of the Ramones. And having, Downed, from Cheap Trick, and Speak Now, Forever Hold Your Peace, the killer cover song from Terry Reid that's on the first Cheap Trick album. It's just awesome. It's really, really cool. I digs it. I hope people out there have this album and can leave comments below saying, you're right, man. And it's a great movie. I know. I don't think anybody has seen this movie and said it sucks. If you did and you think it sucks, then more power to your dumbass. Anyway, that's it. That's my classic rock album. Usually I throw out, popular Kansas, whatever. But I figured I'd do something a little more sentimental to me. And I know that many of you that know this movie may not have this. I don't know how your record stores are, but down here, this is hard to find, man. But I have seen people online that own it. I've seen people on my Facebook. Not many, maybe 2 or 3 I've seen people, And I remember like showing this and people go, oh my God, you got that soundtrack? So I figured I'd make a video about it. That's it. If you want to subscribe to my channel, I would love it. Click the little notification bell. And also, if you want to donate, I got a PayPal below. And that's it. And remember this. A kid that tells on another kid is a dead kid. SHMACKEMAGOB. Hey, check out my podcast, The VIERA Vault, on Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes. Subscribe. The links are below.
Looking for some new podcasts to listen to? Well, Rat Salad Review Network has plenty of shows to choose from. Like Rat Salad Review, where they discuss the latest rock and metal news, as well as interviews and albums. Album vs. Album, the King Diamond Podcast, with Wayne Noon, Greg Norgal, and sometimes this guy.
SHMACKEMAGOB!
Ralph Vieira is also on our network with the VIERA Vault. There's also Old Man Metal's Musings, where he discusses heavy metal and beer. Music is Life with Lou Mavs. The Right Opinion for those who love politics. A South Park podcast called Suck My Balls. The Infinite Fringe, a watch-along wrestling show called Beyond Bushido. Ex-Stradivarius guitarist, the Timo Tolkki podcast. And the great Harry Barnett with I Don't Even Like Podcasts. So check out ratsaladreview.com or search Rat Salad Review on YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and more.